And F, colorizing with black and white photo flag. There are two files here, and they are PSD files, so they're a little bit larger. And you're going to make the before look like the after. So what I want you to do is I'm going to show you how to recreate this file. So if you'll notice the RGB file here, to make it look like this one, to look like this one, we are going to look through all these layers. So each one of these layers, when you select it, has a different blend mode, opacity, and color with that original black and white, this one, as the background. So I want you to do each individual layer and name them. So there is a container folder here as well, and put them in it. So let's start out with blue. If I turn the eyeball off on the background color and I use the eyedropper, I'm just going to select that color, and I'm going to double click right here, and let's see exactly what this color is. Well, it's really dark blue, in fact. Even though it has opacity, it's telling me the full value of it. So if I were to use this as RGB or CMYK, here's the breakdown. So it is 255 of blue, no red, no green. If I was doing CMYK, it'd be 88 cyan, 77 for magenta. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this to ours, and well, if you notice, just because I had already selected that, this particular file has that color in the swatches. So let's start with a new group from our layers, and let's call this colors. I'm going to hit OK, and then inside this I'm going to create new layers, and I'm going to call this one blue. Oops. And I'm going to use the same color I had just picked here. And then I want you to just take a brush and paint and give it the same coordinates it has here. So it says it's for the blend mode, it's got pass through. Where's that at? And it has 75% opacity. Now let's look at yellow. Let's see what that is. That is color at opacity of 50%. This one is red with color at 30%. The green is color at 100%. And just go through and pick the colors for all those. So I'm going to do that in this one. And if you noticed in the original, it was just on this part of the flag. So I'm going to simply go through with my brush and create 30%. I'm sorry, it didn't say pass, it said color. 30% color for opacity. So let's paint on a separate layer. I'm going to select that layer. And you could fill it as well, or you can paint. It's a bit like coloring. So I would actually paint in this area, and then if I take this off, you can see all the areas here are showing. And then what did it say? It was opacity of, if I can remember correctly, opacity of 30% and a blend mode of color. They're just down here. And an opacity of 30% looks like this, and then when it is on top of the image, it really gives it that vintage feel. So I would color in this entire area. One other thing you could do is, and it's hard because it's black and white, but if there is an area you can go ahead and pre-select, because I've got this selected. Let's see if we can go ahead and use our quick selection tool to select some of these areas and fill them. That might be helpful. And then just go ahead and brush up any areas that you had trouble reaching. And you may have to use that brush with the bracket keys to make it larger or smaller. And don't forget, inside of the horn, we don't want to color on the inside of the horn. So I wouldn't want this. I'm going to hold down Option to get a minus. So I unselect that area because that's a totally different color. Let me just see what happens if I were to fill this color. Edit, fill. Oh, I gotta be on the right layer first. I need to be on that blue layer. I'm gonna go ahead and show that layer. And I'll go to Edit, Fill, and then we're gonna go to the foreground color. I've already made this color here. Hit OK. And then I can go around. I'm gonna hit Command D to deselect, and then I can brush up and color any areas or select them however you want to. Now let's do another one. So on the file before, I'm gonna just select there's the skin. Let's do a different one. There's the red. The red is, I have to select it. It's a color as well. It's 30%. The green is just the uniform at color 100%. Let's do that gold there. See what that's like on the horn and this area. And if you notice too, they put a little red on the cheeks and the lips. Something to consider. So it's actually like a coloring lesson. You're just going to get as close as possible. So once again, remember, I'm going to not use the eyedropper while the black is on, because that is not the right color. The background with the black and white. I'm going to take that off. Now I'm going to use the eyedropper. It will give me that full color. I can double click there and I can see it's 247 and 174. And I will just create a new layer in mine. New layer. I'm going to call this gold. Hit OK. We're still inside that colors. And then I can either use multiple ways to do this. I can just color over it, which remember it's 30%. And it's also color. Was it 30%? Let me check. It was 75%. You can definitely tell it has a lot more. There we go. So that gives it that look. So however you want to select it, or if you want to use your paintbrush and color it, feel free to do that underneath. And then of course the pole as well to give it that same look. Let me see if there is one that is slightly different. So, oh, I'm sorry, that one is overlay as well. That will help because it looks a little bit brighter. So most of them are color. This one is overlay and it definitely feels more golden. If you happen to mess up on any area, over colored somewhere, you know, there is always also, let me find it here. Where is my eraser? There he is, right there. You can also use an eraser tool too, but not with such an enormous brush. You can also use it as a block if need be and take off any areas. Now remember, we are just on that gold layer, so it is just taking off the gold and not the blue. So I'm going to let you finish this up. Just go through each layer, checking the blend mode, the opacity, and then using that eyedropper with the black and white background off so you can pull the color from there. And then recreate this image when you are done. This one is due as a JPEG. Just save it as coloring black and white _ your name. And then right here, save it as a JPEG. And you will turn this one in our due. We will move on to the very next folders after this final one. There is one more thing I want to make sure that you do, and that is watch that video on what is a smart object. There is a video in there.